Let's bring in former National Security Advisor to President Trump and Vice President Pence and Fox News contributor General Keith Kellogg. General, do you believe that what happens in the next little while with Vladimir Putin, Russia, and Ukraine hinges to a large degree on what happens in this phone call tomorrow between President Biden and President Putin?
Yeah, John, I do. It's absolutely that phone call is going to be critical. But look, we're losing the optics battle here. You know, we've got the spokesman from the Pentagon out there, and he's really not answering any question at all about what's happening. That means to me they haven't got a real good plan yet. They haven't sat in the Situation Room and really have not made any hard decisions out there. And now they're relying on President Biden to talk to Vladimir Putin, who's a very shrewd strategic negotiator, who's already got a plan in his head strategically where he wants to go. And by what I'm watching with John Kirby is we don't have a plan yet. The guy who should have been talking out there right now is Mark Milley. And he should have the Chief of Operations, the Joint Chiefs of Staff out there talking. And he should have been sending a very strong declaratory message to Putin. You do this, we're going to do this. And the president follows that up tomorrow. And if you do this, we're going to do this. I don't think we're there yet. I think it's going to be one of these, well, you know, Vladimir, we're going to take some diplomatic initiatives or economic initiatives. He doesn't care. He's already got his plan in place. And tomorrow, Biden is going to send a message, and Putin is going to take a measure of that message. And from that message, he is going to go forward. Again, he's playing a long game. It's a strategic game. And I would bet that this long-term game, the game he's playing is what is the status of NATO going into the future.
General, that's a big statement. I'm taking notes here. As this is less than 24 hours away, this phone call, you say that we're losing the optics battle. You're not hearing any answers to the questions in that room. This is very important. What's happening right there? With John Kirby still talking at the Pentagon, one of the first questions he took was, are we considering increasing aid to Ukraine? He said there was a meeting about that this morning, but were you surprised there was no definitive answer? And if there is an answer, what should it be?
Well, there should be a very strong message going back to the Russians. And that's the reason I made the comment earlier. If you want to send a strong message to the Russians, it's got to be one of forced respect. Putin has got to respect that the United States is going to be a very, very strong play. Look, I sat through 18 discussions with Vladimir Putin and President Trump. And there was a lot of give and take on those, but Putin knew where we were coming from, that there was a certain line we were going to cross, and if they crossed that line, we were going to take very, very strong action. Look, we killed over 200 Russian mercenaries in Syria, part of the Wagner group run by his good buddy, a guy named Prigozhin out there. And we told him, you violate this line, we're going to kill you. And we did. In fact, what I told Mark Milley afterwards, I said, you made a bad mistake. He said, what? I said, you let him escape. You let him cross back across the river. You should have killed them all. You sent a really strong message. I haven't seen a strong message at all coming out of this administration. Because of that, it's going to demonstrate weakness, and we have to be ready for the consequences of a very strong response by Vladimir Putin.
General, as we talked about at the top of the hour, there was some thought, and you agree with this, that Vladimir Putin's game here is to try to use the leverage of forces amassed on the border with Ukraine to extract a commitment from President Biden that Ukraine will never become a NATO nation. At the moment, it is not. So if he were to invade, you can't invoke Article 5 of NATO. But what would the response from NATO nations have to be if Putin did go in, and with Putin sitting on the switch here of turning off access to Germany of natural gas that it needs from Russia through that Nord Stream pipeline? Does he not have a tremendous amount of leverage over at least one major European ally of ours?
Yeah, he does, meaning Germany. Yeah, look, I still don't think that Russia will invade all of Ukraine. That's twice the size of Poland. It's huge. But he can take a big hunk out of it. And I think the European nations will do exactly what they did in 2014 with Crimea. Nothing. And when he does that, that to me is the start of the breakup of NATO.
Wow.
All right, General Kellogg, thank you for joining us on the breaking news on that. Appreciate it very much, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, General.